you're very welcome to the first lesson in Bodhran for beginners. And I'd like to welcome you firstly to our home. My name is Alan Walsh and we are going to go through the basics that you need to know about playing the Bodhran. We're going to look at different types of Bodhrans that are available on the market. We're also going to look at different types of beaters that you can use. And also it is a really good time to explore different types of music. No better time to share some skills or develop some old skills. The Bodhran itself is quite a very interesting instrument. Like any nation in the world, we all have our native drums, and Ireland is no different to that. And some music scholars even say that it didn't first appear on the music scene until the 1960s in Ireland, but there is much earlier evidence, of course, of the Bodhran. Where did it originate from? Only time knows that, really. I'm not an expert when it comes to music instruments in that way, but one thing we do know is that it more than likely came from Eastern Europe. So next to me here, I have what could be possibly the first type of Bodhran that came to Ireland, as this is much larger. It has a very narrow rim to it, and it's not actually played with a beater. In fact, it's played with the hands. Now, I need beginner lessons in playing this myself, to be honest, because it's like tapping your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time, because you have to tap with one hand at the top, then you use this hand then at the side. Nice sound of it. It resonates really, really well, and that type of drum is very good for the mind as well. So other type of Bodhrans that we have, of course, as they started to develop, they were all handmade, traditionally made out of goat skin. Now, I've heard of some interesting Bodhrans as well out there. One, in fact, that was actually made out of fox skin. Now, I never had an opportunity to play that type of Bodhran, but I'm sure it sounds quite interesting. But the most interesting Bodhran I ever came across was a deer skin Bodhran. Now, where did I start off with the Bodhran? It's quite interesting. Well, I started off playing up in O'Neill's, up in Tremoro with Boxty. And Diane Duffin actually gave me a go of the Bodhran that she had, and I really fell in love with it, and I just really enjoy playing it. So let me show you this one. This is my first Bodhran. So this is over 20 years old. It's a bit worn, a bit tattered. It actually fell apart as well, so I had to do a repair on it. This is a single skin Bodhran. It doesn't have the tuners, and you might notice that it doesn't have the cross sticks going cross either, because I actually removed them because they were too tight to the skin when I was doing handwork at the back. But we'll talk a bit more about handwork later on in the lesson itself. So that's the standard type of Bodhran that you'd pick up in most markets and in charity shops, but also as well in tourist shops as well. You'll have the single skin Bodhran. Nice sound of it still, you know, over 20 years it's still doing its job, and it is a good instrument to have around, and you can see I just did a little bit of painting to it. So the Bodhran that we're going to be using, this is a more modern Bodhran. This is a Brennan White, and it is double skin Bodhran. But it also, in fact, is tunable. On the inside the rim, you can see there's rivets all the way along, which is really good for our climate because we live in a moist, wet climate, and it can get quite warm during the summer. So it's nice to be able to change the skin tension on the Bodhran as you're playing. They're the type of Bodhrans that we have around, so these are two main types. We're going to do on this lesson is we're going to cover the types of sticks, holding a stick, but also as well a basic rhythm. So by the end of this lesson you will know how to hold your Bodhran stick correctly and how to practice a basic rhythm. So now to the type of sticks that we have. So traditionally, anyone that gets a starter Bodhran would have these type of sticks would similarly come with it. It has a narrow end in the middle, and it has the beaters at both ends as well. Nicely balanced as well. This is a bit of an experimental one that I made out of a handle of a brush, so I'm going to see how that sounds like. And then you get up to these modern type of Bodhrans. This is just little, basically skewers for meat. That's just or veg that have been put together, piece of string plastic, and you can adjust it depending on the sound. We'll look at this one a little bit later on through the lessons over the week. and that gives a nice sound. And these are kind of more modern type Bodhran sticks, so you got more narrower. And this one is rigid, so it's nice to hold, very comfortable in the hand as well. And it's just it's a bit wider towards the tops for the beating end. Now this one in fact is one of those novelty pencils that you can pick up. It has been hollowed out at the end and a small piece of brass put in just to give it an extra bit of weight and a little bit of oven writing on the side of it too. But this one has to be my favourite. Of all the sticks that I use, this is made out of ebony. It's like steel. It's very, very hard timber. Gives a really nice sound. But for our lesson today, we're just going to stick with the standard two-sided beater. So let's look at holding the Bodhran stick. It's so easy to start with. We all hold pens and pencils, and I always recommend start off by picking up your Bodhran stick at the farthest point and hold it nice and comfortably in your hand. Then you're going to bring it up about 3/4 the way, and then you're going to turn your hand directly so the Bodhran stick is facing towards you directly. And see now where I'm just cupping that just underneath the fingernail. You can just see it just there, and that gives you a nice grip to the Bodhran. So you're not going to hit the person across from you when you're getting into the tune. And it's always interesting, people say that the Bodhran, it's a rhythm instrument. Yes, very correct, but it's also an instrument that can be used very wisely within tunes. And the most interesting thing about it is that a loud Bodhran, no way to really say this nicely, can ruin a good session. And I was told once by a Bodhran player of many years, senior to myself, said to me, imagine you're painting a picture and every note being a brushstroke on your painting, and feather your stick against the Bodhran. And even went to the point of saying, if you don't know the tune, don't play it, or play it nice and softly to yourself until you get used to it, and then you can bring it up. And that's especially true when it's a small group of musicians. Now, larger group, okay, you can give it a little bit more welly on certain tunes when everybody is really loud and bringing the tune along. And it's just a really fun way to actually play a lot of tunes. Of course, you've all heard the kind of stories about playing Bodhrans as well, like best way to play Bodhrans with a penknife. Well, you can see my Bodhrans are still fully intact, and I was even told once, if you don't keep that Bodhran quiet, be wearing it like a bishop's collar. You hear all kinds of stories when it comes to Bodhran session. So let's continue on. So we're holding our stick correctly. I'm going to take the Bodhran. Now for this part, not going to use the hand on the skin of the Bodhran quite yet. We'll do that on the next lesson. But for today, all we're going to do is we're going to do a basic beat. So if you just hold the sticks your Bodhran, bring your Bodhran on your knee. Whether you're left or right-handed, it's the same technique for both. Just hold it in towards you, nice and easy. For this lesson, I'm just going to hold it out to the side so you can see exactly. So when you're going to strike the Bodhran, you're not going to start off out here, because if I start out here, it's going to be quite loud. So I'm really going to start with my knuckles just off of the skin and just go. So that is a basic beat to get you started. So all I'm doing here is 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you get the feel of the stick moving in your hand. Nice and handy. So you just practice that for today. Get used to holding the Bodhran stick in your hand, keeping it at a right angle towards your body, the Bodhran nice and flat towards yourself, leaning in towards your chest, and rested on your knee. And just 1. And forget about that end at the top for the moment. We're just going to focus on the bottom end, and that's the end close to you. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for today.